Welcome everyone to This Week in PlayStation Trophies, your weekly look at everything to do with the PlayStation Network and the trophies, the easy ones, the hard ones, and the somewhere in between ones. This series was of course inspired by StayPationt. Be sure to check out his channel with the link in the description. And since there wasn't anything new on PSN this week, and there's very few games revealed this week, only in fact I think 3 as of this video, I'll cover those next week for next week's weekly update, the first weekly trophy update of 2017. But for this week, let's reflect on everything that was 2016 as far as the PlayStation 4 was concerned, and the trophies and the trophy list, the hard and the easy plats, 100%. And after covering those, then for the other half of this video, I'm going to go through my personal journey with trophies this year. Some of my favorite ones that I got this year, the hardest ones I got this year, and some milestones that I ended up reaching. This, as far as the easiest and hardest, this is just my opinion. I'm sure there's a lot of debate this year as far as which ones are the easiest or hardest, though I think everyone's going to have the easiest platinum. I think will be universally accepted as you already know what it is if you're a trophy hunter. But as far as the other ones are concerned, I kind of went over the percentage of people that have them and made sure that the platinums were obtainable. That is the key. I didn't want to, like, there's a few games like Kerbal Space Program or whatever that currently has a 0% platinum, but that's because one trophy clearly is glitched. A few people have said they've done the objective and it hasn't unlocked. So it's ones that are obtainable, at least as far as I have done my research for. They are obtainable, but just difficult to do so. So here we go. The hardest 100% are going to kick us off here. And we're going to do 3 for the 100%, and then do 5 for the easiest and hardest platinums. Kicking us off, though, is Cornshaq Magic Library. It has a huge ownership because it is a free-to-play game. It is a card-based game that has a lot of luck of the draw. You can see some of the trophies are relatively easy to get a hold of. Have a bigger, higher percentage, such as obtain main story codex times X100. But then there's stuff like the Crusher, extract super rare or higher codex X100, which I assume is the luck of the draw as far as cards are concerned. Probably cost some real world money involved in that, probably most of this, as well as maxing out your characters, your librarian, reach 70 with super rare higher codex X10. So there's some really difficult stuff. There's been only a handful of free-to-play stuff that actually has platinums. There's been a slight increase in those near the end of the year. But this came out at the very beginning of 2016, so it's been out for a while. A lot of owners, but very little percentage. Obviously, some of these are a little bit skewed for these because if they were free at any point for Plus, or they're free-to-play, the higher number of owners. But I still think it's a very difficult over 100% to get. Second up is a game that I played myself, A Bastard's Tale. This game only has a small amount of owners, but since I personally played it myself, I figured I could include it here as one of the hardest 100%. You can see nobody has gotten it on the PlayStation. Now granted, there's only 62 owners. There's more owners. It's on Steam, and I know people have completed it on Steam, but very few people have messed with the game and gotten it. It's a very simple game, retro style. You just walk from left to right and have to do very specific timing, though man is it not fun. Like you basically have to master how each enemy works and counter them appropriately as you're walking, and it could be a really cool kind of timed strategy type thing, but it just ends up feeling very clunky. I didn't enjoy my time with the game even after getting better at it as I went. I just ended up quitting after I got into the 3rd level. It just overall not worth the time, and one of the hardest, especially this one right here. Defeat 107 enemies in endless fighter mode. If you die at any point, you restart from the beginning, and this game is very difficult, and you have to master every enemy type and how to beat them without dying. That trophy I see probably remaining ungotten for a very, very, very long time. So I know it's like I said, a little skewed because not many people own it, but I still argue this is one of the hardest ones this year. And then last but not least, I have Let It Die, which is another free game that got a lot of buzz because it was revealed at the PSX, the PlayStation Experience, back at the beginning of December of this year. And you can see, though, even with so many people playing the game, so few of the trophies have been gotten in total. Stuff like defeat all the jackals, 0.15. 100 successful home defenses, 0.29. And then this one, collect everything in the game, 0.02% of people that have played this game have it. And I bet you even if you, like, took away, like, it's still, that's like a couple of people have this complete list. I don't know if anyone actually has the full 100% as far as it's concerned. In fact, let's look at it. There we go. 11 trophies. I assume there are 11. No one has 100% completed. No one has gotten the highest. Noob Smog, congratulations, you're currently at the highest level of it, because, wow. Let It Die is from Suda51, who I'm a big fan of, but it's a kind of mix of like a Dark Souls-esque with a Suda51 spin on it, but it's online with random events and stuff like that. It got, like I said, a lot of buzz, and it seems to be, from everything I've seen, one of the hardest 100% on the PS4 in general, and in my opinion, the hardest of this year. Now, let's switch up things a little bit, and let's go look at the easiest 100% from this year. Starting off with the third easiest, The Park. The Park. This game, I wish I'd had a platinum. I would have gotten it day one when it came out. But The Park came May of 2016, is a first-person perspective horror game that I think was a little overpriced for when it was released, but it's very much straightforward, and as long as you complete it, you get the 100% as far as as far as I know. Everything has pointed, even though I haven't done it myself, that you just play through the game, and as long as you beat it, you'll get the 100%. You can see the rarest one is beating the game, leaving the park. At 66.18%, but other than that, most of the trophies are 80 or above, the only one being 79.19, which I assume is probably right near the end of the game. So there you go. Next up is Doodle Devil. This was a free-to-play Flash game or something like that years ago, like in the late 2000s, like early 2010s. But now it's on PS4. I think it was a free game at some point this year, maybe? No. Maybe this version, or at least this version wasn't. Either way, I know a few of my friends have messed with it, and it was very cheap. It must be very cheap, that's it. Even though it was free at one point. Flash-wise, it's now charged for on PSN. I don't know what's the difference. I think it's the same kind of gameplay. I didn't quite get it. From looking at some videos and stuff on it, it basically looks like a matching type of game with a lot of cool-looking artwork. And stuff, but it's basically like pictures of like things, and you match them, and things combine into one. It's like a puzzle game, basically. But apparently, very obviously, extremely easy. Even with only 137 people having it, most people have gotten to complete the game without using any tips. 85.40%. So clearly, this game is not difficult to 100%, complete it, to beat it, even without using tips. So. And last but not least, the easiest 100% is Inner Kung Fu Game. This is a yoga simulator type game, where apparently you don't even need to really do anything. You can hit the wrong buttons, even it'll give you button prompts. It looks awful. Look it up for yourself if you want to see just how awful Inner Kung Fu is. It's absolutely atrocious looking. I kind of wish it had a plat, though, because if it had a plat, it would be up there with My Name is Mayo as one of the easiest platinums of all time, I'm sure. It takes no effort at all. 87% of people have the 100% there. That's ridiculous. Extremely easy 100%, and the easiest for this. Now, let's shift gears to the platinum side of things and talk about the hardest PlayStation 4 platinums of 2016. Kicking it off was a PS Plus game, Tricky Towers. Tricky Towers was free when it was released, so you can see it has a ridiculous amount of ownership. I was one of the people that played it, and I can attest that it is a difficult game to complete. Completing all the trials, but more importantly, is stuff like this. Beating Trial 50 without losing a heart. And a lot of other specialty ones, like completing Trial 30 without rotating a brick. Tricky Towers is a Tetris puzzle, it uses puzzle pieces like Tetris, and your goal is to build towers, or you have 3 different styles of game to it. One is build up the tower as high as possible in order to hit a certain line. Another one is to use a certain number of blocks in order before your tower ends up falling over, so you have to use all the blocks that it gives you until it runs out. And then the other type is you have a line, and you can't go above the line, but you still have to use all the pieces. So you have a very small platform, and you have to make sure that you put pieces just directly the way you need them in order to get it. What makes it difficult is the fact that not only is it a pretty tough puzzle game, but as far as collision and getting pieces to stay exactly the way they want, it doesn't always work the way you would expect. Things don't kind of lock into place the way you would want them to. It's very loose as far as the block stacking and stuff like that is concerned, which I think is a turnoff to a lot of people with it, making it a very, very difficult game to master and get it. There is a couple of online trophies as well, so keep that in mind. If you're going, maybe at one point the online mode will go off, but the online trophies are very easy in comparison to the single-player ones. Next up is one that no one has yet, but it's not glitched. It's just very, very, very difficult. And that is Atari Flashback Classics Volume 2. Nothing has shown me that it's unobtainable. Flashback Volume 1 is difficult in itself, but Volume 2 is even harder. With very specific, this is all a throwback to classic Atari 2600 games, has 9 arcade games and like 40 Atari 2600 titles, but stuff like, for example, 50,000 points without losing a life in Asteroids Deluxe is a very difficult, unless you're a master of Asteroids Deluxe, that's a pretty tall order. Even stuff like speedrunning Adventure, beating level 1 of Adventure in under 40 seconds. Not necessarily the most difficult task for anyone who's a veteran of it, but that's still a speedrun trophy that can be hard to get. Getting level 19 in the arcade version of Missile Command. Once again, unless you're experts at some of these games, it's really hard to get. It was a little bit disheartening that they decided to go really difficult with the Atari Flashback Volume 1 and 2. To some people, that's a cool thing because it's a really big challenge for old school gamers. I like the mix of in between. I wanted it a little bit harder than maybe like the Midway arcade set that was on PS3. But not quite as hard as what we ended up getting. Like somewhere in between would have been really nice. But that's why I've included Atari Flashback Volume 2 on my hardest, my number 4 spot on the hardest list. Number 3 is Bound. This game had a little bit of buzz behind it because it was part of like the PlayStation, I forget what they call it, but basically an indie showcase of the summer. Back in August, each week there was like another indie game showcased. One that I really liked was Brutal, that came out during that time. But you can see that the platinum is an extremely low percent at 0.78%. The main reason for this is beating every one of these levels, speedrunning them. Speedrun trophies seem to be a lot of deterrent from people. For me, not necessarily a huge deterrent, but it's very, very strict. Once I completed the game, which I actually kind of enjoyed it, it's a platformer game with a ballerina-esque setting, like as far as the aesthetic of your character and the movements of your character, and it had a nice story. Like the story was well told as far as like being like this other world, and then there was also the real world equivalent and kind of the story that ended up unfolding as you progressed through the game. I thought it was a very cool game for what it was. It wasn't perfect, it wasn't amazing. We've seen some other games like it, but stuff like I said, trying to speedrun this game is very difficult. In fact, I only got a couple of trophies myself while playing through the game completely and beating it. And then I went back and was like, okay, well I beat it now, let me go and see if I can do any of the speedrunning stuff. And I tried, and it was very, very strict as far as the time. Like, I don't mind speedrunning trophies, as I am a speedrunner and such, but I feel like they need to be a little bit lax as far as time. Like, they can be difficult, but they need to be, like, you have to be perfect to get the speedrun stuff in this, from all I could say. Matrico Plus on PS4 is also very similar to it, with speedrun trophies and puzzle elements and the like, but Bound was much harder, a better game, and more people checked it out. Number 2 on the hardest one, though, is Street Fighter V, with a 0.50% of people that have gotten the platinum. Of course, a lot of this revolves around some of the online, as far as the online is concerned. But then you have stuff like this. Back from Hell. Feel like taking the plunge into survival mode on Extreme. Yeah, doing a lot of survival mode on Extreme. Not necessarily a very easy one to go after. And more specifically, the one that seems to have everyone tied up is Priceless. Managed to get 1 million FM. Like, that is I assume, the fighting point system that you can then use and spend on stuff. It's been a little bit since I messed with Street Fighter V. Pretty sure that's what that is, and you earn it as you're playing through and doing stuff. But man, just so, like, those trophies alone end up leading this to a very hard platinum to obtain. Even anything with the survival mode is going to be difficult to get, and you can see that only a very small handful of people, out of 52,654 people that had played it on PSN profiles. Keep that in mind. That's just people that have played it here on PSN profiles. Only 262 out of that number have actually gotten the platinum. So that's a testament that it's a pretty difficult one to get, and a lot of hours and a lot of mastering of the game. And my number one hardest platinum that came out in 2016 is Crypt of the Necrodancer. A very, very cool rhythmic dungeon game that you have to really master. You have to be really good at rhythm and keeping the rhythm as you're going through. You can see that a lot of people have gotten it. 4,319 is a pretty good amount of people that have played it. Only two people have gone ahead and gotten the platinum. The reason for this is there's some really difficult stuff. Beating all the zones with different characters, because there's different characters that have different kind of things to them. Stuff like that. Complete all zones with the Coda. Apparently, it is the one that is. And then all characters, low percent. Complete an all characters run without picking up any items or using any shrines. The game is extremely difficult, especially as you get farther in. Heck, just beating the first areas, the first zone, is difficult in itself. So, yeah, this is why Crypt of the Necrodancer is the hardest platinum in 2016. I don't know, like, how many, like, two. Congratulations to those two people, because, wow. Okay, so now time to look at, of course, the easiest of the easy. We're going to start off with the number 5 spot for easiest platinum of the year. And I was still signed in on this one. But anyway, we have The Bunker. The Bunker took me a week to get. Let me refresh real quick. It has me. There we go. It still has me signed in. Whatever. Anyway, you can see when I got them. Woo, mysterious. But anyway, if you use a guide, you'll have no problem. The reason why it took me a week to get the platinum, instead of like the hour, 2 hours that it should have taken me, is I missed a piece. Spoilers, small spoilers. There's an item that you need to grab at the very beginning of the game, and there's no backtracking. It's an FMV game, so the story progresses. You're unable to backtrack and go back to previous areas once you make it to a certain point in the game. And because of that, there's an item at the very beginning that I didn't pick up. And if you don't pick that item up, or interact with it, no, you have to interact with it, sorry. Not pick it up, interact with a item. If you don't interact with that item, you won't be able to find the piece to pick up late in the game, at the very end of the game. And because of that, I had to redo the game completely. But, if you do that, you can get the platinum in like 2 hours. Extremely easy. There are some collectibles. There's 9 collectibles in total, besides that thing you have to interact with, so 10, I guess, completely. But very easy to do, and there are plenty of video guides. You can just follow the video guide along with while you're playing. I wish you could speed things up a bit in it. I wish you could skip some scenes, especially some of the walking, like going back and forth between areas, that especially ones you've already been to before. It would have been nice to be able to speed things along a little bit, making it even faster to get. But overall, an extremely easy platinum. Next up is Jazz Punk, which you can see when I ended up getting that one. That one took roughly an hour and 40 minutes to get the platinum. As long as you use a guide to help you get some of the more obscure ones, such as the carrier pigeon stuff, and there's a few other things along the way that can be a bit of a pain if you don't use a guide. To make sure that you get like the lipstick thing, I think it was one. Going into, make sure you destroy all the vases in the one shop. Overall, though, the game is very short, especially, like I said, with that guide, and you can easily get it. It took me a couple minutes longer than it should have. Honestly, with a guide, it can take you just an hour or maybe a little over an hour. But when I made it to the very end of the game, it kind of messed up on me a little bit, and I couldn't get the very last thing to work, to finish off the final, like, thing in the game, like the boss or enemy or antagonist. You have to do something to him in order to get to the very end of the game. And for some reason, it wouldn't work. I had to restart the level and redo the level, and then it worked. So it took me a few extra minutes, and it probably should have. But either way, less than 2 hours and extremely easy platinum. Next up is Her Majesty's Spiffing. This took an hour and a half. Once again, you will probably need a guide. There's a couple of missable trophies along the way, but you can quick save. Basically, you have to do like 2 or 3 quick saves throughout the course of the game, so that you do one thing and then reload and do the other thing, and then you get different trophies or are able to do certain things later in the game. The most important one was making sure that you keep a certain item until the very end of the game, and not messing up another thing with involving cheese and frogs. Basically, it's a very easy adventure style of game. It has a lot of humor, of course, to it, a lot of references. I love the trophy list, though. That's one of the reasons why I love this game in the long run, with stuff like Cringer, Summon the Power of Grayskull. They have He-Man references. They have Resident Evil references with the typewriter that's in the game. And you actually save on it, even though you can save at any time. If you go to the typewriter and interact with it, you can save. So stuff like that. The Microsoft paperclip, you know, just stuff like that made me really laugh and enjoy the game. Next up, as far as number 2 is concerned, for easiest platinum, is World of Nubla and Nubla. Okay, so basically, if you're somehow unfamiliar with Nubla and you're a trophy hunter, Nubla was an extremely experimental art student game, pretty much, that became pretty popular because it had the easiest platinum like ever, but it was only available in the UK store. However, in December, beginning of December, they decided to finally release Nubla, the UK version, in North America. So in North America, you can now go on the PlayStation Network and get yourself Nubla. At the same time, in the UK store version or whatever, they released a second Nubla game called World of Nubla, which all it did was add a demo for Nubla 2. Just a demo for Nubla 2 that doesn't have any trophies. It's still the same trophy list as Nubla. And they charged like three more pounds or whatever it is. Like a couple more bucks in the end, a little bit more money for a demo included. But it's the same trophy list. So Nubla, World of Nubla, no matter what you look at it, second easiest platinum by far. In fact, now I have 3 platinums for Nubla. At least I got a review out of it, so at least I can justify that I bought one of them because I wanted to do videos for it. So, yeah, no, it's still pretty whatever that I bought Nubla that many times at this point. But anyway, Nubla, second easiest platinum of the year. And of course, number 1, you already know it. Everybody knows it. It is My Name is Mayo, the greatest platinum of all time. The highlight of PlayStation 4 platinums as we know it. We're never going to see anything quite as good, or quite as grand, or quite as amazing as My Name is Mayo. I know a lot of people, there's a lot of trophy people out there that are like mad that this game exists. It's diminishing the value of trophies. It's like, to me, nothing diminishes the value of trophies. It's how many you have in the end. So like, no matter, even if there's 100 easy ones, and there probably is at this, 100 very, very easy ones at this point. If you have 100 platinums, and you have those 100 easy, then maybe your list isn't as whatever as somebody else's. If you want to compare, like, to me, it's all about having fun. That's what trophies are all about. But at the same time, okay, you have those 100. Well, what about the 200-300 hard ones that you also have? It's just adding more numbers overall. Everyone's working, trying to get a bigger number and brag about their trophies. Some people take trophies way, way, way too seriously. But then again, that's with everything in life. That people take it really, really like dire. Like, we gotta have the integrity of the trophies. Back in the day on 360, I used to do achievement hunting before I became a trophy hunter, and it'd be like with Avatar and all, like, you have Avatar in Hannah Montana. And I remember one day when it's like Avatar in Hannah Montana, like, we're never gonna have easier than those games. And then as years go by, we get easier and easier achievements or easier platinums in the case of My Name is Mayo. Like I said, I have, like, this game was $1, 30 minutes of work. Click a thing 10,000 times and you get a platinum. It's dumb. It's supposed to show the irony of trophies and make fun of it in a way, like a humorous way to me. It's a dumbass game, but it was $1. Like, you pay $1, you get a platinum. They probably made look, 8,384 people have the platinum for My Name is Mayo. I assume. Actually, no. There's a couple people that don't. So 8,134. There's a few people that haven't gone through and clicked it enough. So 97.02% of people have the platinum in it. That means they at least made, let's just say argument, $8,384 on doing a game that probably did not take them a whole lot of effort to do. So smart businessing move, what was that? Smart business move from them, from the developer. And I wouldn't be surprised if we do see a few more games like this come to PlayStation Network and do that. And if you want to get mad about it, whatever. Just go ahead, just boot up your whatever you consider a hard platinum and go get that one instead. That one's still going to mean more than this one. No one's bragging that they got My Name is Mayo and being like, I am the best trophy hunter of all time. Unless they're kidding, they're being sarcastic or something like that. There's, you know, anyway, rant over. So there you guys have it. Those are the easiest and hardest 100% and platinums of 2016. Real quick, I also want to just showcase two things. I think the grindiest, stupidest platinum to get this year is another free-to-play game in 3-on-3 freestyle basketball, because no one has a platinum yet, because it requires you to play like 1 million freaking games. Losing 50 games is a trophy. Where's like the really, like, there's 500 slam dunks in a mode, 1,000 assists in the mode, win 100 matches in 3v3, win 300 matches, win 7 in a row, like, just stuff like that, grindy as hell. If you enjoy 3-on-3 freestyle basketball and you end up with that platinum, very much congratulations, because, yeah, that's going to take quite a lot of playing in order to get it, and there's a lot of owners, even with it being, actually, there's not that many owners consider it's free. I also want to look at the worst game of all time as far as PSN was concerned. It's no longer on the network, so you can't get it, but Soul Brain Night of Darkness. This game was so broken, nobody has the 100%. In fact, the farthest anyone has gotten is like to level 9. Yeah, no one has beaten level 10 or 11. I got to level 8 twice, and the game broke because you have to kill all the enemies on, like, all the enemies that spawn, and enemies kept spawning inside of stuff, and there's no way to save the game. So every time you, like, the game glitches, you have to restart from the beginning and do level 1 all the way through again. There's no level select, there's no saving, there's no cheat, and there's not. The game is one of the worst video games ever, and for good. Plus, it stole every asset that it used. It stole all the, like, the graphics and the music and the sound effects, and just everything was stolen from other games. It was an abysmal thing that this game even got put on the network at all. I am happy to see, though, only 61 people have got it. Now, granted, I am one of those people that did buy the game when it came out, but I am happy that only 61%. The word got out, I guess, that this game was awful. So only 61 people bought it. So awesome. So there you guys have it. There's everything that I want to talk about as far as 2016 trophies were concerned, with the easiest and hardest and stuff like that. Now we're going to shift gears completely and talk about my personal experience in 2016. And talk about my favorite trophies I got, the hardest ones I got this year, the most, like, you know, frustrating ones I got this year, and some of my other favorite milestones for me personally in 2016 when it comes to trophies. Okay, so I don't want to dwell too much on things, but I want to say my easiest one this year for me, besides My Name is Mayo, but I want to say even easier, was Muv-Luv Alternative Total Eclipse, a PlayStation 3 game from 2013 that I finally booted up, and I've owned a copy of it for a while now. I bought a couple of these games from Japan, or from, I think I even got them on eBay at one point. They weren't super expensive when I got them, and they were sitting around, so I was like, you know what, I need to boot them up and see how easy they are. You just let the game play itself. It takes a little bit of time, but you just let the game play itself. In order to get all the platinum, it took me an hour and 40 minutes to get the platinum in the game. You just let it sit there. It skips through all the text for you. Yes, it's all in Japanese, but it's very easy to set up. You don't even have to make choices like other visual novel games where you have to make a lot of choices and multiple saves and all that stuff. Nope, just play through the game one time and then boot up the, once you beat the game, you have to load up the, like, background music thing and the art thing, the look at them, like, you know, the gallery mode, basically. And there you go. That's the easiest plat other than My Name is Mayo I got this year. In fact, it could be considered easier because I only had to click, like, you know, maybe 10, 15, 20 times on things instead of 10,000 times. Watch Dogs 2 was one of the ones I really enjoyed getting this year, one of my favorite ones. Not necessarily a very difficult one, as you can see, 23% of people have it. Only the online ones that I end up hating and not enjoying, but I really, for the most part, liked it. And it's very easy. You don't even have to 100% all the collectibles. The most is getting like a handful of the one locations. There it is, the Scout X locations. Very, very easy to do. Buying 25 cars took me a little bit of money grinding because I didn't have a whole lot of money. But overall, Watch Dogs 2, a very fun open world game that has a pretty easy plat to get. Maybe not the easiest of open world titles out there as far as plats are concerned, but a very, very easy one. There's My Name is Mayo, definitely one of the easiest ones ever, probably the easiest one that we're ever going to get, and I did have fun with it. I have to admit, I had fun getting that platinum. Another one that I really enjoyed that I thought was cool was Duke Nukem 3D, because the platinum was ridiculously easy. I got the game when it first went up, because as soon as it went up, I was like, okay, I want to check it out, because I like Duke Nukem 3D. And I was like, there's a trophy for using a cheat. Okay, let's try the cheat. And the cheat worked. You know, get the cheat in. I looked up what the cheats were, and it was like, boom, okay, that worked, and that was a trophy. Now, can I use the cheats to get everything else? Apparently, I can. And then it was like, oh, beat each campaign. Okay, beat each campaign. Well, you can select any level right from the get-go. You don't even have to beat through the campaign. So I was like, let's load up the last level of the campaign and just beat that and see if it counts. And it did. And I was just like, it was fun. Like, to me, it was stupid. I did it one morning real quick. It only took me a couple hours to get it or whatever. And it's still a cool game that, like, to me, yeah, I got the platinum in it, but it's like, I can still boot that game back up and have fun and play it, play it through again. Because it's just an awesome, awesome game. So I didn't really mind rebuying it and all that stuff. I also had the 100% in it back on the 360 when that version had originally come out. And that one had online and all. This one doesn't even have any of the online stuff that you have to worry about. My most frustrating for me this year was Madden. You can see 3.32% of people have the platinum. The reason why Madden was hard for me this year was 2 trophies. Triple Crown, which should have been easy. Recording a sack, a forced fumble, and fumble recovery with the same player. I mean, not extremely easy, but should have been pretty easy overall, especially with, like, modifying rosters or playing 2-player or whatever. We struggled for days. Finally, I found another strategy online for doing it with a different play setup, and then I instantly got it. Shoutouts to TransEagle for actually giving me that strategy, and I was able to do so. But the one that makes this one the hardest thing to get is right here. Good on paper. Draft a team with overall greater than 82 in Draft Champions. Basically, what you do is you boot it up, and it gives you a choice of 3 players, and you pick the player that you want, and in each round, you go through 15 rounds or whatever, pick 1 player per round, and then it gives you the overall stats of all the players combined into one, and that's what your overall is. And you can only do it once every 10 minutes or so, or something like that. I think it's 10 minutes. So you can do it as much as you want, but you have to wait like 10 minutes every time you end up failing it. So you could arguably get it on the first go, and apparently as the season progressed, it got easier to get. I got mine at the beginning of November, as you can see from my thing. That's when I actually was able to get it. But we just did draft after draft after draft after draft, and we would get 82 consistently, get to 82, and that doesn't get, you have to get 83. And it was just like, when I finally got it, I was just like, oh my god, it was like the best moment. Because it's random, it's completely RNG, so you're up to the mercy of the game as far as getting you. So that's one of the frustrating ones. Another one I really enjoyed was all of the arcade game series. I wish Namco would put out more of these. They put out 4 classic arcade games: Pac-Man, Miss Pac-Man, Galaga, and Dig Dug. In fact, I still haven't done Miss Pac-Man yet, so that's another easy platinum that I have waiting for me. The hardest stuff for Galaga's the hardest, I think, of them, and the reason for doing it is getting the perfect bonus. Like, you have to do every bonus level perfectly up to number 31, like level 31's bonus. So those are hard to do. Outside of that, though, a very, very easy, if you're any good at Galaga, very easy platinum game, but they were also fun. I like doing the retro games like that and doing that, so I hope Namco releases a few more, and I really wish that Arcade Archive series would be better, man. Those games are overpriced, and you don't even get a platinum out of it. You get very few, couple bronze trophies out of all those Arcade Archives games. Really wish they'd step their game up with those. Another one that I really love getting, which is going to be free on PlayStation Plus next month, is Day of the Tentacle Remastered. So you can get it in January. It's a very easy platinum to get. So I highly recommend checking out Day of the Tentacle if you haven't. It's one of my favorite point-and-click adventure games of all time, and they did a great job with this remaster. At least I feel that way. I don't know what the overall consensus was. I gave it a high review when I reviewed it. I loved playing through it again, and I like the fact you can do the old-school art style or the remastered version of the art style. Just a lot of fun going through. You probably will need a guide to help you and make sure you don't miss anything if you want to like kind of get everything on your first time through. I had to play the game twice because I missed a couple of things, but even with that, a couple hours in order to get it. Took me a day. I did a lot of them the first night, and I think I came back and finished up the last couple ones I was missing the next day. So it took me over a day, but it really wasn't much. Another ones that I have really fun and easy this year was Hitman Go and Lara Croft Go. Hitman Go I had probably a little bit more fun with than Lara Croft Go. I like the whole strategy of actually figuring out and being able to complete it, and if you use, of course, a guide, you'll have no problem doing it. But it's still a really fun game to me. It's puzzle, chess kind of thing. We have to move the character, make sure you don't get hit by other things, take out things stealthily just like you would in a normal Hitman game. But you're like moving a little toy, chess piece like around, and I don't know. I had a lot of fun with the mobile games. They got ported over the PS4, and they're fun. And there's another one. There's Deus Ex there's Deus Ex Go as well that has not been announced for PS4. But if it ever comes to PS4, darn sure I will be getting it day one and probably reviewing it and hopefully getting a platinum. Supposedly also there's a few other Square Enix properties that they've trademarked the term whatever, the name of the game, Go, including Life is Strange Go. Please, I don't know, Square Enix is never going to see this, but I really hope they make a Life is Strange Go, because I love Life is Strange, and I think that would just be a funny little thing to do. I don't know what they would do with it, what its purpose would be, but if they do that, awesome, and bring it to PS4, I love it. I'd be buying it day one. My most heartbreaking and embarrassing trophies this year. As you will see, I do not have the platinum in Barbie Pet Rescue. Barbie and her sister's Puppy Rescue. I apologize for messing up the name. But I played this game several days in a row. It's a grind fest. It's an awful, awful, awful game. It's embarrassing to play, and it's a grind fest. But 2 trophies elude me, help 20 puppies clear the obstacle course, and brush the teeth of 20 puppies. And the reason why I do not have those trophies, my save got corrupted near the end. And I had a backup like hours and hours because I had been playing it for like a marathon thing, a marathon session of it. So I lost hours and hours and hours of progress. And it's such a grind fest, boring game. I gave up on it. And after I got that the one I did, and then it corrupted on me, I was just like, nope, I'm good. So that's my most embarrassing and heartbreaking trophies I've messed with this year. Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, which I really enjoyed replaying Grand Theft Auto 3, Vice City, and San Andreas on PS4. Though Vice City's Godfather trophy can go blow chunks because it's awful, and that's the reason I don't have the platinum in Vice City. But San Andreas, the reason why it was important to me or whatever was it was a fun platinum to get. It didn't require 100%ing the game, so that was a big draw for me for it. But it was also my 100th platinum. My number 100 platinum that I got for it, which was back in February is when I got my platinum. And that was my 100th, so that was cool. That a game like San Andreas that I've always loved, and that ended up being that. So that was cool to do. And last but not least is Klaus. And the reason why Klaus is important to me was not only did I enjoy the game, but I was the first person on PSN profiles and in the world to get the platinum in it. Just by a little bit before the other Skull Sinister ended up getting it. But to me, that was a cool thing, because there's never been another game where I was the first to get the platinum in it. I'm sure I've I was the first to get a few trophies in games, but as far as getting a platinum is concerned, I was the very first person to get the platinum in Klaus. So that was cool. That's why it's important to me, or will stick with me. But anyway, guys, there you go. There is 2016, a year in review for trophies. I hope to see you all again in 2017. I will be doing a weekly update from here on out as far as people are enjoying it a little bit, or at least watching a tiny bit. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Continuing to enjoy everything with PlayStation trophies. Enjoy the hobby. It's fun. I love trophy hunting. Yeah, it's not the end-all be-all. I'm not obsessed with it. Thankfully, I don't have OCD that it's like if I play a game, I gotta get the platinum if it has one. Sometimes platinums can influence buying decisions, that for sure. Because, you know, I will always say if there's two games at the same price, one has a platinum, one doesn't, probably going after the platinum, unless the other game is really, really good. But at the same time, I love trophy hunting, and I hope, you know, those who love it too continue to enjoy it in the 2017 and all that good stuff, guys. So thank you so much for watching this video, and of course, I hope you enjoyed.